Alrighty, so news of the week on this Wednesday afternoon, and did you know that the primary transfer window actually closed on Monday? I actually didn't know that until last Sunday. I mean, I feel like the league should have let everyone know that, yeah, the transfer window is closing and that this is when we're going to get some last minute deal. And we definitely did get some last minute deal that we'll talk about in this news of the week episode. But first of all, it is complete. FC Cincinnati has officially transferred Brenner to Udinese. Now, what's interesting about this deal is that Brenner is not going to go to Udinese until July because that's when the European transfer window opens. Right now, the European transfer window is closed. So basically, Brenner is still technically an FC Cincinnati player, but he will be leaving in the summer, and that's kind of interesting to see how it's going to go. And again, with him still part of FC Cincinnati, it's gonna be interesting to see whether or not if he's still going to be playing for the team. I mean, it's kind of an awkward situation where yeah, he's not going to be part of the team for the rest of the season, but he's still going to have to maybe get some minutes because you don't want to just spend like for your first couple full months just not playing, and then once you transfer to a new team, you basically just completely rust it. Though again, speaking of Russ, that's kind of the case for Brenner. I think he hasn't trained in 2 weeks because of this ongoing transfer that is going on. So I think he should be back in training from what I heard, and that maybe he'll come in as a substitute role. But yeah, the deal it says around $10 million, which again, it's kind of a net loss for Cincinnati because they paid a lot to get him in the first place, which is kind of where I originally questioned this move, the fact that they could have got more out of this deal, but nevertheless, this is definitely a good stepping stone in terms of FC Cincinnati being a team trying to develop talent and eventually are proven to be selling off to a team in Europe. And while they didn't make a profit out of this, at least they made some sort of transfer fee out of this deal. Now, moving on in terms of next news, and now let's get to the trades and signings that we saw during deadline day. And that started off with the Seattle Sounders decided to loan Danny Leva to the Colorado Rapids for the rest of the season. I think this is a good move, especially for Danny Leva, where he wasn't really getting minutes for the Sounders. He was way down the pecking order, and with him having some really good potential, you just have a feeling that he needs to get some minutes, and I think going to the Rapids is going to be a place where he's going to get minutes, especially with the way that Jack Price is done for the rest of the season. I think Danny Leva will slot in that straight away. So yeah, we'll see how he's going to do with the Rapids. And again, it's unfortunate the fact that he has some good potential, but he's stuck with a team that is pretty much very deep in terms of that midfield position. But now getting a chance to go to a new club and at least go there just on loan and get some playing time. I think it will definitely give him some experience and definitely develop his career. I mean, what a way to develop your career when you're basically working under Robin Fraser, who I still believe is one of the best head coaches and one of the best in terms of developing players. Now, Toronto FC have acquired CJ Sapon in exchange for 200,000 general allocation money that they'll send to Nashville, and they also send Lucas McNulton to Nashville SC. And for Lucas McNulton, that has to suck. The fact that his last ever appearance for TFC will be remembered because of the own goal that he scored there in that game that TFC had last week. But overall, it's kind of an interesting one and kind of one that, I mean, I'm not sure some people might think that TFC kind of got fleeced out of this deal considering the fact that, CJ Sapon, he's been really struggling with Nashville SC. I mean, it feels like he is kind of developing the classic number 9 curse that I've talked about where number 9 player are just not allowed to score goals. I mean, he's in a long dry spell now, haven't scored a goal since I think last May for Nashville SC, and TFC obviously are very desperate in terms of that number 9 position. I mean, they pretty much hold all their number 9 gone down with injury. Guys like Io Akinola and Diamande still on the IR right now. So this again feels like a desperation move, but also kind of feels like a little bit of a fleece because keep in mind CJ Sapon. He's always been a very hot and cold player in my opinion. There's years where he has had an incredible season, and then it's followed that by a season where he basically did nothing. And it also doesn't help the fact that he is 34 years old. He's kind of near the tail end of his career. But now moving on in the next move, we had DC United acquiring Christian Dahome from the Vancouver Whitecaps in exchange for 550,000 general allocation money. Now, I feel like this is kind of a bit of an overpay from DC United case because, well, Christian Dahome, when he came for the Whitecaps, he was definitely an impact player for this Whitecaps team. He's kind of fell out of favor under Vanni Sartini, and no, for $550,000, I feel like that's a little bit of an overpay. If it's like somewhere around 300 or 400,000, it probably makes sense. But again, that feels like it's a slight overpay. But I guess maybe nowadays, in terms of general allocation money, the value is basically inflated compared to what we see in the last couple years. So yeah, overall, I still think it's a decent signing for DC because I think Christian Dahome, when he's with the Whitecaps this season and in previous year, he does do some good things, especially with his pace. So yeah, I think DC has got a decent player, but yet it's a little bit of a slight overpay. And then the Columbus Crew, they have acquired left back Malte Amundsen from NYCFC in exchange for up to $500,000 of geolocation money that they'll send to NYCFC. Now, Malte Amundsen, he's been kind of out of favor under the new head coach Nick Cushing. I think ever since Ronnie Delia left, Nick Cushing hasn't really played him. I think maybe it's due to the fact that he doesn't fit in the system, but I do believe that he is definitely one of the more underrated left back, especially when he was playing under Ronnie Delia, and knowing the fact that the Columbus Crew have just found out that Wilson is done for the season because of a torn ACL, which that definitely will add more fuel in terms of all those people that have said that. Yeah, it's been proven time and time again that turf field basically have destroyed knees and have caused players to have season ending injury because of torn ACL. But yeah, very unfortunate to see that of course happen, and definitely I wish Will Sands a speedy recovery. Definitely tough for a young guy to go down with a season ending injury like that in so young of his career. Especially it feels like he started to blossom into a very decent player for the Crew. But getting Multi Emerson is not a bad option, especially a guy that has been a proven MLS decent left back. And yeah, and also $500,000 again. That feels like a very good move, and just another example of what I feel like when DC decided to pay Christian Dahome for that amount of money. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of an overpay, though you could argue that, this is a left back, and usually when you look at defenders and fullback, they don't command as much more of a fee as you would see on an attacker. Now, Toronto FC, they have also acquired Amit Mbika in exchange for $100,000 that they'll send to Inter Miami. Now, he was kind of more of a utility player for Inter Miami, but down the stretch last season, he definitely proved to be a decent utility piece for this Inter Miami side. So yeah, we'll see whether that's going to be the same case now. He's going to be going to Toronto FC and especially strengthening up that back line that's been having still have some big issue even with some of the signings that they've done this offseason. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that like their attack, that TFC backline is also suffering a bit of an injury crisis. Matt Hedges, the big signing that they got from FC Dallas, he's been out for a long time, and that well, I don't think he has even made an appearance for TFC. I think he made an appearance, but the whole point of them getting Matt Hedges is he is present with FC Dallas, and how he definitely commands the back line with some class, and that unfortunately he's not been available because of injuries, and it's not a big surprise that this TFC defense is pretty much like last season and also the previous season before. It's been very bad. Now, the LA Galaxy, they have acquired U.S. Youth 20 Youth International Maurizio Cuevas. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because they actually drafted him a couple of years ago, and then he was actually part of the Galaxy Academy before he was shipped off to Europe, and he was shipped off to Belgium. Now, obviously, I think this is an example of a kid that decided to go to Europe and maybe make the move to Europe a little bit too soon, never really settle in, and now he's coming back to MLS, and that's kind of the case for the Galaxy, where he's coming back to MLS, he's coming back to the club that basically they develop him and eventually ship him off to Europe, and we'll see whether or not if he gets some minutes, because as a youth player it's going to be very disappointed that you made your move to Europe but it didn't quite work out and you're now back into MLS, kind of almost like a backwards in terms of development of what a lot of promising of U.S. youth international is trying to do. But still, we've seen before where guys that maybe doesn't work out in Europe, they come back and they develop well enough to get another chance in Europe, and that's kind of the case for Maurizio Crevos. He's looking to trying to now actually make his chance to be playing for the senior team, and eventually, if he does well with it, he'll have another shot of going to Europe. Now, the LA Galaxy also reported that they were trading for Paul Arriola, and in fact, they were actually going to trade for Paul Arriola for a record amount of general allocation money, but FC Dallas flat out said no. And I can understand why FC Dallas flat out said no, because Arriola is one of the more important attacking piece on their team, and especially they have no depth in terms of the position that Paul Arriola plays in that winger position. It's no surprise FC Dallas clearly said no, despite the fact that the Galaxy try their best to get him. So yeah, nice try, Galaxy. Nice try in terms of trying to poach away an important piece, but again, it's not a big surprise. FC Dallas says no, even with the lucrative general allocation money that they had. And again, we will never know exactly how much it is. It's probably around the 2.5 or $3 million range, because I think the record for general allocation money was something like 1.6 or $1.7 million. But again, Dallas basically said no, because we have no depth after Paul Arriola. If we lose Paul Arriola, that is going to be a huge loss to our team, and I think now that we started to see teams that are being a little bit more smarter in terms of the trades, where it's not just about the money. Like, the money is very tempting, but sometimes you don't want to just accept without realizing that, oh, that piece that you lost when playoff time comes, maybe he would have been useful, instead of we decide to sell him off for a profit. And that's what FC Dallas is thinking, where the profit is not worth it, in terms of the fact that if they lose Paul Arriola, they will have some serious issue in terms of the attack, and especially in that winger position. Now, speaking of wingers, there is sources saying that the Houston Dynamo is looking to sign one, and they're signing a Nigerian youth international, Ibrahim Ayala, from or not Alia, it's Alia, I think that's how you pronounce it, from NK Lokomotiva in the Croatian league. Now, I don't know a lot about this kid, other than the fact that I have heard some good things about him, and that we'll see whether or not if they do get this deal done. I mean, the Dynamo has done a good job this off season in terms of getting these deals done, and it's no surprise that it's rewarding them with them doing very well in the league so far this season, and this is just another step in terms of doing so. Now, Hani Mukhtar has been fined by the disciplinary committee for embellishment with his dive that he made in the 41st minute against LAFC. And I'll tell you what, this is actually the first time I've heard a player this season that's been fined by embellishment. I might be wrong though, because I think there are plenty of players that's been fined by embellishment that wasn't actually noted, but this was actually noted here, and that this is just an example that it doesn't matter what kind of player you are. You could be a superstar player like Hani Mukhtar. When you dive, the disciplinary committee is going to go after you, and that, yeah, again, for Hani Mukhtar, when you saw that moment, it is pretty clear that he dived, and that Disco, they have stepped up in terms of, yeah, if you decided to dive, you are gonna get fined because of it. And then moving on into the next news, we had the U.S. Soccer Federation. They have announced their sporting director. For a long time there was question that with the whole Reina and Berhalter scandal, that is now started to kind of be in the rear view mirror. Who is going to be the new sporting director for this U.S. Soccer Federation? And the new sporting director is going to be Matt Crocker. Now, this is actually a really good hiring, and that I'm actually glad that the U.S. Soccer Federation finally started to look elsewhere and not just look within, because it could have been easy for them to just look within and just hire another American as their sporting director, but no, they decided to go elsewhere. In this case, in Europe, looking at Matt Crocker, who has been serving for the youth development academy for Southampton before also was served with the English FA there, and was one of the top executive staff of the English FA. And that, I think, overall, this is a good hiring, especially, again, he has a background in terms of having been helping being developing youth players and knowing the fact that this U.S. player and this core that they have is still very young, this is definitely going to be a good hire to have. So yeah, I mean it's rare to say that the U.S. Soccer Federation has actually got their man correct and actually hire a decent person for their job, but this is a good example of it, and they had to because it's been so much chaos that's going on with the U.S. Soccer Federation that at least we're finally seeing some positive in terms of that too. And then finally the LA Galaxy. Their supporter group says that they're gonna be returning to the stands on May 6th and that they're going to not do the boycott anymore that they've been doing for the beginning of the season. Now this feels very strange because I mean the whole point of the boycott is basically put pressure on Chris Klein, and I know Chris Klein has released a statement that he promised that he will step down as the president if this team does not make it to the playoffs, and that keep in mind the Galaxy are also fresh off of a win. And also in the statement that they released, especially their main supporter group, the Angel City Brigade, have said the fact that yeah, we're going to return in the stands, but we are not going to forget about the whole point of this, which is we're putting pressure on the ownership group, and unless if it's has something to do with them coming into the stadium and pretty much holding a banner to demand their president to be out, yeah, that's a very weird statement. In some way, it's kind of almost a contradict statement. The fact that yeah, we want the president to be out, and we're not going to really support this team until he, of course, is gone. But at the same time, we're also going to be in the stands and supporting the teams. I mean, that's kind of a very contradict statement. And that again, it I just had a feeling that throughout this protest, as much as it's a strong statement, just didn't know if it's going to last long, especially once the team has started to be good again. And what's even makes it even more weird about this situation is that yes, they did finally get their first win, but in no means that this Galaxy team is a good team right now. I mean, that one win, it doesn't really change the fact that they're above the red line right now. They're still kind of near the bottom of the Western Conference. So yeah, I mean, I would think that the protest would eventually maybe go away with the way that the team started to do well, and now the supporter group is going to be back because as the old saying goes, winning basically cure anything, and that winning it could be used as a distraction in terms of the more internal problem that you have with a club. So yeah, again, this feels very weird, and it just feels like that pretty much defeat the purpose in terms of the protests that they had. And again, I can understand why they decided to do the protest, and I think it's a strong statement that really got to a point where it really pressured Chris Klein to have to release a statement about what's going on right now. But now just kind of revert back to this, and almost felt like you just decided to go back in terms of not protesting anymore, in terms of boycotting games because you just got one win off your belt. Yeah, it just feels very weird, and again just kind of defeats almost the purpose of why the LA Galaxy support group decided to boycott games and protest of their presidents. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the news that has happened. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news, and if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below as always. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.